Alright, this is lesson GG64. Okay, this is the page where I explain how to do the procedure for these types of problems. The unit is coordinate geometry still. So the lesson GG64 has to do with standard GG64, which is find the equation of a line given a point on the line and the equation of a line perpendicular to the given line. So then the essential question would be, how do we find the equation of a line when given a point on the line and the equation of a line perpendicular to the given line? There's three facts that you need to know to solve these problems. The first is that two lines are perpendicular if their slopes are negative reciprocals. The second is that the negative reciprocal of a fraction is when you flip the fraction and change its sign. And the third is that if you multiply the slopes of perpendicular lines, you get -1. Okay? Now let's look at the procedure. Alright. Now this procedure is here for you to reference for future use. I'm not going to go through it with you because I'm going to go through the example problems where we're going to actually go over the procedure while I do the example problems. Okay? But this way you have it for when you're reviewing for the Regents test. So you can put this aside and use it to refer to while you do the problems. Also, don't forget to put your name and the date on the top, okay? Same thing. So that's page 1. This is page 2. Put your name and date on the top, and let's do example problem 1. What is an equation of the line that passes through the point -2, 5 and is perpendicular to the line whose equation is y equals 1/2 x plus 5? The first step is that we have to rewrite the equation in y equals mx plus b form, but it already is in y equals mx plus b form, so let's just write down what it is. Y equals 1/2 x plus 5. Now, like I said, that's already in y equals mx plus b form. So this is our m. Okay? So let's write that down. M equals 1/2. Now, we want to rewrite that as a fraction, but it already is a fraction, so we don't have to do that. So the next step is now we take the negative reciprocal of that, which would be, so the negative reciprocal is -2 over 1, okay, which is just equal to -2. Because if you take -2 and you divide by 1, you just get -2. Now, the next step is we're going to solve the equation y equals mx plus b, and we're going to plug in this negative reciprocal that we just got for m. So y equals -2, and in fact I'm not writing down y because for y I'm plugging in my y coordinate of the point that they give me in the problem. So it's 5 equals m times x. X is my x coordinate of the point that they give you in the problem, plus b. What I'm solving for is b, the y-intercept. So this is 5 equals 4 plus b. Subtract 4, and b equals 1. Okay? Now my next step is to rewrite my y equals mx plus b equation. But let's put a box around the two things that we are going to need. We're going to need the negative reciprocal, which is our slope, okay? And we also need this b equals 1, because we're plugging that in for b. So we just rewrite y equals mx plus b, but this time for m, we put in the negative reciprocal of the slope, x, and then for b, we put in the number 1. Plus, that's a positive 1, so we would put plus 1. And this is our final answer. Okay? Now, we're going to use the calculator to check to make sure that those lines look parallel. Okay, so I turn it on, I clear it, I go to y equals, I'm going to clear my equations. I'm going to first put in the original one, which is 1/2 x plus 5, but I'm putting the 1/2 in parentheses. Okay, so that's the fraction 1/2, and then x plus 5. And my second equation is -2x, it's my answer, plus 1. So these lines should look like they're perpendicular. Okay, if they don't, then I did something wrong. So what you do is you hit zoom and you go down to z square. Okay? And you can see that those lines definitely look like they're perpendicular. So you can be pretty sure that you did the problem correctly. Alright? So see if you can follow the same procedure to solve checkpoint problem number 1. Okay? Then you can turn that sheet over and let's do example problem 2. Same type of problem. What is an equation of the line that contains the point 3 comma negative 1 and is perpendicular to the line whose equation is y equals negative 3x plus 2? So I'm going to take my equation that they gave me and I'm going to write it in y equals mx plus b form, but it already is in y equals mx plus b form. And I'm going to write down my slope. Okay, so m equals negative 3. But we want to write it as a fraction, so negative 3 over 1. Then I want to do the negative reciprocal of that slope because I'm looking for a perpendicular line. Okay, so I need the slope to be the negative reciprocal, which would be 1 over 3, a positive 1 over 3, because we changed the sign. Right? So that's our first piece of information. Now, let's write down y equals mx plus b. Now we got to solve for b. Okay? Now remember, the 3 of the point that they gave me is my x, and the negative 1 of the point that they gave me is my y, and this is the m that I'm going to use, the negative reciprocal of the slope that I just found. So I have negative 1 equals, my slope is 1/3, okay, times x, which is 3, plus b, and I'm solving for b. So I have negative 1 equals, now when I multiply fractions, I got to put all of my numbers in fractions. So I put this as 3 over 1. So now I have 1 times 3 is 3, and I multiply the bottoms. I have 3 times 1 is 3, plus b. So I have negative 1 equals 3 over 3 is 1, plus b. Subtract 1 from both sides, and b equals negative 2. That's the second piece of information that I need. Okay? So I write my equation, y equals mx plus b, and now I substitute in the two values that I found. The negative reciprocal of the slope, I plug that in for m, so 1/3 x, and now I plug in b. Since b is negative, it's not going to be plus negative 2, it's just going to be minus 2. And that's my answer. Now let's just check to make sure these lines look like they're perpendicular. Alright, I'm going to clear my equations. I'm going to put in the line that I was given in the problem, negative 3x plus 2. And then I'm going to put in the equation that I was given, 1/3 x minus 2. I hit zoom, I go down, I hit z square, and hopefully they're going to look like they're perpendicular. And they do. Alright, so I can be almost 100% sure that I got this problem correct. Alright. Try checkpoint problem 2 on your own. Then put this page aside and go to the new sheet, sheet number 3. And let's do example problem 3. Put your name and the date at the top first. What is the equation of the line that is perpendicular to the line whose equation is y equals 3/5 x minus 2, and that passes through the point 3 comma negative 6? So we have the same deal here. I'm going to write down the equation, put it in y equals mx plus b form, but it already is, so I just want to identify my slope. So let's write down the slope, m equals 3 over 5. Now I want to do the negative reciprocal of that, because I'm looking for a perpendicular line. So the negative reciprocal of 3/5 is negative 5/3. That's the first piece of information I need. Now I need to solve the equation y equals mx plus b to find b. So I use my x coordinate of the point they gave me for x, and the y coordinate I use for y, and this is my m, the negative reciprocal of the slope. So I have -6 equals -5/3 times x, which is 3, plus b. So that's going to be -6 equals, now you see I leave space underneath this 3 because I know when I multiply these together I have to turn the 3 into a fraction. So I'm going to put this as 3/1. Now I can multiply these two numbers together. I multiply the tops, -5 times 3 is -15, and then I multiply the bottoms, 3 times 1 is 3. Then I have plus b. So I have -6 equals -15 divided by 3 is -5 plus b. Then I add 5 to both sides, and I get b equals -1. That's the second piece of information that I need. Okay? Now I write down my equation, y equals mx plus b. I plug in m is my negative reciprocal of the slope, and b is my y-intercept. So y equals -5/3 x minus 1. Now I check to see if those look like they're perpendicular. So I go to y equals and I clear out my equations. First I'm going to put in the original one. I put my 3/5 in parentheses. 3/5 x minus 2. And my next equation is my answer. So I'm putting -5 divided by 3 in parentheses, x minus 1. Let's see what happens when I hit zoom, z square. They should look perpendicular. And they are. Okay? So, you could try checkpoint problem 3 on your own. Then you can turn this page over. Go to example problem 4. What is the equation of the line that passes through the point -9, 6 and is perpendicular to the line y equals 3x minus 5? So let's write down our equation. Y equals 3x minus 5. Let's identify our slope because we're already in y equals mx plus b form. So write down the slope, m equals 3, but we want to write it as a fraction so that we can do the negative reciprocal, which is -1/3. That's the first part of your answer. Now write down y equals mx plus b. We're going to use this -1/3, the negative reciprocal of the slope, for our m. Our -9 is x, and our 6 is y, and we're going to solve for b. So we have 6 equals -1/3 times -9 plus b. 6 equals, let's put the -9 over 1 so we can multiply these two numbers together. -1 times -9 is a +9, and 3 times 1 is 3. So 6 equals, 9 divided by 3 is 3, plus b. Subtract 3 from both sides, and b equals 3. That's the second piece of information that we need. Okay, so now I can just write down the formula for the equation of a line. I'm going to plug in my negative reciprocal of the slope as the slope of my line. So that's my m, -1/3. Then I have x, and then my b is 3, so plus 3. Okay, let's see how this works. Let's see if we got the right answer. Okay, clear out my equations. The first one I'm plugging in is the original, 3x minus 5. And then I'm plugging in my negative 1/3 x plus 3. Zoom z square. Okay, you can see those look perpendicular, so I just checked my answer and I know that I did it right. Try checkpoint 4 on your own. Then we go to the last page. Sheet 4 out of 4. Put your name and the date on top. Let's look at example 5. Which equation represents the line that is perpendicular to 2y equals x plus 2 and passes through the point 4, 3? Let's rewrite the equation. 2y equals x plus 2, but we have to put it in y equals mx plus b form, and this time it's not in y equals mx plus b form. It's close. All we have to do is divide away that 2, but that means we have to divide everything by 2. Okay, on both sides of the equation. So what we get is y equals, now remember there's a 1 in front of this x, so this is really 1/2 x plus 1. 2 divided by 2 is 1. Now I can identify my slope, right? So let's write it down. M equals 1/2. It's already a fraction. So now I do the negative reciprocal, which is going to be negative 2 over 1, which is just negative 2. Now I write down y equals mx plus b. I'm going to plug negative 2 in for my m. My x is going to be 4 and my y is going to be 3. The y coordinate and the x coordinate of the point that I'm given. So 3 equals negative 2 times 4 plus b. 3 equals negative 8 plus b. Add 8 to both sides, and b is 11. Okay? Now I have my m, which is the negative reciprocal of my slope, and I have my b, so let's do my equation. Y equals mx plus b. Y equals negative 2x. I got the negative 2 from the negative reciprocal of the slope. And then plus b, here's my b, is plus 11. Let's check that. Okay. Now, when I check this one, be careful because you can't put in the original equation, 2y equals x plus 2. You have to put in the, after you got it into y equals mx plus b form, because look, it says y equals, and you can't change that. Alright, so anytime you want to graph a line, you always have, on the calculator, you always have to put it into y equals mx plus b form first. Anyway, so you should just do that all the time. So let's plot this. Y equals 1/2 x plus 1. So y equals 1/2 x plus 1. Graph the second one. Y equals negative 2x plus 11. Hit zoom. Go down and hit z square. And they should look perpendicular, and they certainly do. Okay, so you just checked to make sure that you got the problem right. Now, do checkpoint 5 on your own. Then you can turn this sheet over. And let's do the last problem here. Find an equation of the line passing through the point 6, 5 and perpendicular to the line whose equation is 2y plus 3x equals 6. 2y plus 3x equals 6. Alright, we got to get this in y equals mx plus b form. So first let's get our x term over to the right side. So we'll subtract 3x from both sides, and we'll have 2y equals negative 3x plus 6. Now we just got to divide everything by 2. So we end up with y equals negative 3/2 x plus 3. Okay? So now I can identify my slope. So m equals negative 3/2. And then I got to do the negative reciprocal of that, which would be a positive 2/3. Alright, I flip it and change the sign. That's the first thing I need. So y equals mx plus b. I got to solve for b. I use my x coordinate of the point they gave me for x and the y coordinate of the point they gave me for y. And I use my negative reciprocal as m, the slope. So I have 5 equals 2/3 multiplied by x, which is 6, and then plus b. So 5 equals, I got to put the 6 over 1 so I can multiply these numbers together. 2 times 6 is 12. 3 times 1 is 3. So 5 equals 4 plus b, subtract 4, and b equals 1. That's the second piece of information I need. So now I can write the equation of my perpendicular line. Y equals, I use the negative reciprocal for the slope, 2/3 x, and then I use my b for b, plus 1. Now let's see. Okay. Let's see if this works out. Now, remember, I got to use the y equals mx plus b form, so I got to use this equation. I can't plug in the 2y plus 3x equals 6. Okay, you can't plug that in here. So I do negative 3/2 in parentheses x plus 3, and then my answer is 2/3 x plus 1. So 2/3 in parentheses x plus 1. I hit zoom. I go down to z square. I hit enter. Okay, and they came out looking perpendicular, so I just checked to make sure I did the problem correct. So, do checkpoint 6 on your own, and that is the end of lesson GG 64.